Alright guys, so we're in the shop tonight building a set of tree kickers for this brand new Maverick X3. First time having an X3 in the shop, so I'm pretty excited. I, as you might not well know, have a Razor, so haven't spent much time with the Mavericks or the Can-Ams, but I'm excited to see how this thing's put together, excited to build a set of kickers for it, and we'll see how they turn out. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Okay, so first step in building a set of these tree kickers is check out our BOM. We have a drawing here. Top right is our bill of material. It tells us exactly what we're gonna need to build the project at hand. This one being a set of X3 tree kickers. Laying next to it, I have all the tubing that we're gonna be using, 1.5 inches and 1.25 inches 095 wall DOM tubing. Built a lot of kickers, holds up great to the abuse, so that's what we're going to continue with. On these you can kind of see those brackets. Those are meant for razors. Since this is the first set of X3 kickers that we've built, I'm going to check it out and see if we can use those brackets. If not, I've seen another technique to mounting the kickers up, so we'll play that one by ear. But I really like the way those brackets hold the tube in, and it really locks the tube in because it fully engulfs the tube and gives you a lot of area to weld. And we've had no issues with them, so I don't really want to change that, but hey, new machine, new techniques, so we'll see how that goes. So first step, I'm going to be laying out our bends and then bending it on the Rogue Fab Model 600. These two tubes will be bent. These two, I got the 2.5 inch tubes. I'm gonna have to put a 45-degree angle cut on the end, and then we'll kind of go from there. So now we have the tube all set up in the notcher and our Bailey TN 300 notcher. And I'm not sure if you caught it or not on the time lapse, but you can see I drew some lines on this piece of tube. That is to get my bends in parallel, on a parallel plane with the notch that I'm about to put in. So it was easy. I tightened down the clamp a little bit on the notcher and then squared up those two lines with the base of the notcher, and then now I know that my notch will be straight through this tube and in line with the 3 bends that I have on the tube currently. It's just something I picked up over the years of doing it. I've spent way too much time screwing around trying to figure out how to get my bends and my notches in line, and I figured out that this is the fastest way, honestly. Rather than screwing around with angle finders on different people's tube attachments and whatnot, I found that if you just draw 2 lines and line them up with your square to make sure that they're perpendicular to your notcher, your hole saw that's about to go through, it'll go a lot quicker and a lot faster. So cleaning up the edges from the notches and whatnot, you can see nice and tight fit up here. Tiny bit of the gap, but once you actually pull the tube up to where it's gonna be sitting. It's tiny. I'll be cleaning all that up to ensure that we have a good weld. Clean any of those like little chips off of the edge of the notch. And then even the same thing down here. As you can tell, nice tight, close gaps. So that's the joys in designing the parts on the computer in like BenTech is what we use. And it gives you a great idea of how to line everything up, what your angles are gonna be, and just makes the whole job easier and cleaner. Unfortunately, I screwed up one of these bends. As you can tell, I bent 3 of these because I went past my bend angle by 2 degrees, and I just couldn't live with it. So in the first time lapse, I'm sure you saw me bend 3 of these main tubes. So yep, that's just part of life. That's what happens when you don't pay attention. But I'm gonna get to cleaning these tubes up, and then weld prep, clean everything up, get it ready to weld, and then we'll burn it out with the Miller 211. All right, so the tubes have all been weld prepped. I got them all clamped down. As you can see, I have a tiny fixture built here just to ensure that everything is gonna end up at the right spot on for both sets of tree kickers, make everything identical, because that's the hardest part when you're dealing with tube. Especially when you get a bunch of different angles and whatnot, it gets tough to get everything to be in line and exactly perfect side to side. So the easiest way to ensure that, build a small little fixture. As you can tell, this is nothing special, just a couple clamps to keep everything in line, keep everything where I want it. And now I can easily tack it up. As you can tell, it is nice tight gaps. Key to welding, nice tight gaps, makes everything easier and cleaner looking. So now I'm gonna go ahead and flip this thing over, tack it on the other side. I'll tack up the other tree kicker and then get to welding. We're over at the Bridgeport now, about to drill a pilot hole through our tube cap, which will be the place that we weld a bolt to, kind of like this. This is an offset one that I was messing around with just to see how the tube lined up in the mounting location, see if it looks better offset, and drop down a little bit lower to cover more of the rocker, or if I should do a center one. So I'm going to drill holes in the center of this tube cap, and then we're going to check it out and see where the tube falls, see if it looks better being in the center or a little offset, and then we'll go from there. But basically the technique here is drill a small pilot hole, obviously using lube while we're doing it, and then step up to our 3/8 inch bit, which is what the size bolt that we're using. So once we get that done, we'll start doing some mock-ups and see where we're at. Now I'm notching the mounting tubes, and as you can see, the notch is going to be offset from the center line of the tube, and that is to get our kicker about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch lower than the rocker panel, so that way when you're going over stumps, logs, whatever it may be, it's gonna hit the kicker rather than blowing out your plastic. So I got 4 tubes to notch like this, and then we're gonna go on to mounting everything up. Well, YouTube viewers, we just learned a very important lesson. Always keep in contact with the customer. So I laid out the tree kicker, as you can tell. It's sitting about maybe 5 inches outside of the tire, and asked him what he thought. He loved the way they look, but due to where he keeps his side-by-side, he cannot have his kicker sticking out way past his tires like that. Some guys like that style. Me personally, I think that I built my kickers way too close to my body, and I don't get enough oomph when I go around a tree and get that true kick. So no big deal. I'm gonna go home, get on the computer, and start busting out a new design for these X3s. All part of the learning process. First time with an X3 in the shop, so there's gonna be some challenges, you know. I'm interested to see what I can come up with, because obviously now I know the footprint. The door kind of limits us to how high we can go, and so I'm interested to see what I come up with. But so far, as you can tell, definitely got it figured out how to get that tube lower than the rocker, which I'm extremely happy about. That's one of the main pieces of plastic that that comes into contact with the ground, obviously, when you go over any type of obstacle and whatnot. And so I like to protect that. There's no point in having a kicker that sits up higher than that and you're sliding on your plastic. So back to the drawing board. I'm gonna go knock that out, and hopefully tomorrow morning I'll have something figured out and designed so we can get back to finishing this up for them. Just got done cleaning all the weld spatter off. There's a couple little spots here and there. I like to go through and hit everything with a wire wheel real quick. Cleans up the welds, makes them look nice and pretty. And then also make sure that you get everything. Every once in a while you'll leave a little peephole on accident, and that's just a good way to go over everything and ensure that you have fully welded them out. So this is going to be Rev 2 of the Maverick tree kickers. Next step is going to be to mount them up, and we'll see how that goes. We have a completed set of kickers for this X3. I'm extremely happy with how well they turned out. I think it really accents the body, and obviously it doesn't interfere with the door, as you can tell when I was opening and shutting the door earlier in the time lapse. And I really like just the way they flow. It'll definitely keep the trees off of him. He's about an inch outside, inch and a half outside of his tires.